All right, up for review today. We're going to keep this, 10 minutes or less. Is a Sig p230. This particular gun, just to give you a little history, was designed in 1977. Is a concealed carry law enforcement firearm. In World War II, West German State Police, they usually carried Walders, but they were chambered in 32 ACP. However, I believe it was the 72 Munich massacre, don't quote me, that led them to really re-examine using 32 ACP as a defense cartridge. 9x19 is a much better cartridge, obviously from a ballistics point of view, and a 380 is a 9mm Kurz, as you can see here, which is German for short, and that's what led to this. This wasn't selected. Most of the agencies, again, it's a clear weapon, most of the agencies went for a 225 or a P6, that's another Sig, which is a 9mm single stack, or an HKP7, which if you have one of those, hold on to it, or a PPK. Now, what this does have in common with the PPK and the P7 is the fact that it has a, well, first things first, let's drop the takedown lever. Whoop. It has a fixed barrel design. So as you can see, the barrel is affixed to the frame. It's not going anywhere. It's not a locking block. There's no actuating barrel like you would see on a Glock or Beretta, any other modern firearm, so to speak. There's not a lot of newer guns that have this design, but it's permanently affixed to the frame. So this lends itself to have outstanding accuracy. The rifling on here is still good. This particular gun is from 1986. The Sig code on it is JG. This one's made in West Germany. A lot of the West German Sigs are known for their craftsmanship. I'm not a big enough Sig geek to confirm or deny that. However, if I see a West German Sig for sale, I usually pick it up just because I like to own a piece of history. And then putting this thing back together is kind of a pain in the ass, but there we go. Yeah, it's a subcompact 380, holds 7+1 380 ACP, which modern loads, I mean, with the ballistics on them, I mean, look at this thing. I think it's a 100 grain projectile on it. Modern loads are very close to a 9mm, and just like real estate, when it comes to shot placement, it's all about location, 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 people. You know that. All metal gun, which is very rare nowadays. Now, when it comes to weight, I'll grab a scale real quick. This is actually pretty surprising to me. Let me tear this, and then I'll move it. There we go. Okay. So this was very surprising to me personally. Oh, let's tear it again. So while we're waiting for that to tear, it has a heel European-style magazine release, not the normal American push-button release. Decocker is right here. That holds the hammer in place. The Sig 232 came along, and that actually had about 60 different additions to the internal components, as well as to the exterior of the weapon. So the slide is a little different. I think it went from 13 serrations on here to like 7 on the 232. They also added a firing pin block, which acted as a drop safety, because if you notice here, the hammer actually moves, so if you drop this weapon and you happen to hit it there, you could have a negligent discharge or an accidental discharge. However, when you use a decocker, hammer is held in place. So I'm not really sure about why that was important to change. Also, on the 232, this is machined right into the front sight. With the 232, you could replace the front sight and the rear sight, so you could add aftermarket night sights, things of that nature. There was a little more modularity to it. Also, the grips are completely different. Grips are kind of hard to come by. These are plastic ones. They're fine with me, but you can get a lot of different aftermarket Coco Bolo grips, things like that. So what I was initially saying is, as far as weight, this gun is about a pound. So for an all-metal firearm, unloaded, that's pretty nuts, right? I mean, all metal, 1 pound. Now, this isn't kind of the same wheelhouse. This is clear. This is a Glock 43 and FDE. I have a TLR6 on here, which is a light laser combo, unloaded, as you can see. This is just over a pound, so imagine that this adds an ounce or two. I mean, or 1.1 pounds. Imagine that this TLR6 is about an ounce or two in additional weight. So considering one is a plastic fantastic, one is an all-metal firearm, pretty impressive that this is only a pound. That's because it's a steel slide, steel barrel, and aluminum frame. But there is a pretty large difference between the grip frame. This pops out a little, almost an inch. And then as far as the barrel length, which when you're concealing a weapon isn't a huge deal, this gives you about another ½ inch of barrel, which lends itself to accuracy, but it is a 380. So, I mean, you could hide this even with an extended magazine, a Pierce extension on it, it's about the same size, but you lose a little bit of barrel length. That being said, with a Glock 43, you can carry, an extra magazine that has a +2 Vickers Tactical base extension like I have, and that functionally gives me 15, 16 rounds, something like that. And I can change magazines quickly. With this one, it has the heel release, so you have to use 2 hands to change the magazine. Not a huge fan of that. If you're using this for a self-defense application, everybody, we should know the 3-3-3 rule. Most self-defense shootings happen within 3 yards, within 3 seconds, and 3 rounds or less are fired. So only having 7 rounds or 7+1 isn't a huge deal. And the fact that you're in close, it's really not going to matter as far as barrel length and things like that. I know a lot of, internet ninjas like to get into the, I want that extra ½ inch of barrel for velocity. For a concealed carry weapon, I'm not one of those people that says, I need to have 15+1. It's good, but if I have to reload more than once, I am in a bad situation. And besides, this is meant for deep concealment. Normally I'll carry either a Glock 19 or a Glock 43 with an extra mag. So let's get into kind of the ergonomics of the gun and the sight picture. So the sight, it's got those eye dot sights, or these kind of 2-dot sights. They're okay, they're not great. Again, for something like this, I like to point shoot. Don't mind my email going off. As far as the fit and finish, this gun is 35 years old. This was made in '86. It's a great little gun. I'm gonna cover the serial number because you never know. This one was made in Kiel, for those of you SIG geeks that like to look at date codes, and it has the JG code, which again means 86. This one was made in West Germany, so it was made in the communist bloc era. It does have a loaded chamber indicator. When this is hot, this pops out a bit, so when I'll just demonstrate. Probably somebody in the comments is going to be like, what the hell, man? So as you could see, you could index and be like, all right, I definitely have one in the pipe. Weapon is clear now. Let me reload this because that's how I get down. As far as the trigger, absolutely fantastic trigger. But before I talk about the trigger and we get out the trigger gauge, I want to talk about the slide, and particularly the slide bite. I have medium hands. I don't have large hands or anything like that. But even on me, this thing, it's close. And on my range trips with this, I could shoot this thing fast because, as you're going to see, it's got like a 3-pound single action trigger. I could empty a clip in this in 3 seconds, and somebody's going to say it's a magazine, not a clip. I'm using vernacular, whatever. But this right here is so danger close to the webbing of my hand that if you get a high grip, especially if you're used to shooting Glocks or CZs or anything that has a beaver tail that protects your hand, this is just going to chew the shit out of the top of your hand. And that's my only complaint about this gun, but it's super accurate. It's well made, exceptionally well made, and it's got a great trigger on it for a subcompact gun. And for something being 35 years old, it looks great. This is not a collector's grade by any chance, but it is something that, you could do a lot worse in the market. Now I just want to mention there's the 230 SL and the 232 SL. That happens to come with a stainless finish, which is really, really nice. But this is the blued finish, and that's really the only differentiator to my knowledge. If somebody knows any better, please drop us a comment and let us know. So we're real quick going to just do some trigger tests. 7 pounds, 10 ounces. We're going to do 3 of them just for time. I want to keep it 10 minutes or less. 7, 10 again. 8 pounds. So pretty consistent. 7 pounds, 12 ounces, right? Now, for the main event, before we get to that, that's the take up, nice wall, clean break, reset, wall, clean break. It's a nice single action trigger. It's great, actually. So we're gonna 213, like I said, 3 pounds or less. 3. 212. So 2 pounds, 14 ounces overall average across 3 shots for a single action trigger and a subcompact 380. Amazing. It's got an amazing trigger for what it is. Again, just to recap, pros: concealable, lightweight, easy to manage, easy recoil, great for a woman or a smaller stature person, especially if they have smallish hands and they're not worried about slide bite. It's West German made. This one's 35 years old, still runs like a sewing machine. Outstanding. Cons, if I got to give it cons, sights, not interchangeable. The heel magazine release, but that's the Europeans, that's how they roll. And then again, the slide bite on it for somebody with my size hands or bigger, probably not ideal. Best applications would probably be either a deep concealed carry piece, a holdout piece, or a purse gun if you're a female. But personally, most of the time what I carry is a Glock 43 or a Glock 19, just because it's a 9mm. 9mm is a much more popular caliber. And then also they're Glocks. They run like tops and they're very simple to use. But overall, you could do a lot worse than this Sig P230, which again, don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite subcompact guns, one of the favorite little pieces of history that I own. And all around, a fantastic little weapon. One thing I forgot to mention that I wanted to mention, it has the not serrations, what's the machining on the top for it to reduce glare, a lot like a CZ. Very well made gun. If you see one for less than $600, I'd recommend picking it up because they're only going to appreciate in value, especially if they're a West German model. You own a piece of history, because West Germany, I don't know if you looked at the map, no longer exists. But that's all I got. This is A-Zone Review signing off. If there's any weapons or knives or anything you really want to see from a tactical outdoors preparedness perspective, drop a comment. I'll do what I can to get one, or if I have one, we'll do a review on it. But I'm really trying to build up the content for the channel. So thank you all for the people that have been subscribing. I know I've been a little lackadaisical with adding content, but I'm going to start getting more regular. Thank you again for your time. Again, drop a comment, subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. And yeah, everybody stay vigilant and make sure you get some training. But this is A-Zone Reviews out.